Hello all, welcome back to the Bioroxtion. In this video today we're going to learn about the electrical activity of human heart. Okay, so before we jump into that, let me first basically introduce you with a rough picture of the human heart with the ventricles and the upper chambers, the atria. Okay, and we all know that our ventricles are having these muscular walls, which are the myocardial walls, okay, and even the auricles, but they are very thin when compared to that of the ventricles. And we know that there are two large caval veins which are bringing the deoxygenated blood into the right side of the atria. They are from the head and neck. It's going to be brought by superior vena cava, and the deoxygenated blood from the trunk and the limbs is going to be your inferior vena cava. Okay, we all know that the human heart is going to be a contractile organ, which is meaning that it is going to contract and relax. Okay, it's a contractile organ. So we are going to today see how it's going to contract, what is that electrical wave which makes your heart contract. Okay, and we even know that towards your left side we are going to have these four of the pulmonary veins which are pouring up the blood into the left atria. This is going to be your right atria. So from here, you're getting the deoxygenated blood into the right side and oxygenated blood into the left side. So now what I'll do is, children, without any delay, I'll start up this particular explanation of the procedure of the electrical activity of the human heart. So before I enter into it, let me introduce you with the valves towards the right side between the upper atria and the lower ventricles, which is going to be the tricuspid valve. Tricuspid valve. I'll make a special video to introduce you with the internal structure of the human heart, but today, since I'm concentrating on the electrical activity, so I'll make it as a short, not explaining you the internal structure, but these are important for me to now cover up the valves here, the tricuspid and bicuspid valves here, children. So now you can see that uh, just below, just below the area where your superior vena cava is pouring the blood, at that particular site, we are going to see that we have a very specialized cardiac tissue, which is being called as atrial node. We are going to have, which is otherwise called as a SA node. We are going to call it as sinoatrial node. We are going to call it as, okay, it's been otherwise called as a SA node. Children, SA node is a actual place where you can see that we are going to see that SA node is going to be a very specialized cardiac tissue. This is going to be, it's a specialized cardiac tissue because this is the one which is going to be automatically, it's going to automatically is nothing but self. Okay, it's going to self generate, it is going to self generate a impulse, it's going to generate a impulse, uh, actually it is generating an impulse which is going to stimulate, which is going to stimulate the cardiac cardiac contractions, what we are going to call as. So it is not any nervous system, nor it is not the hormones which are influencing or creating the impulse, but that is this particular, what we call as a specialized cardiac tissue called as sinoatrial node, which is generating that impulse, okay, that impulse to get depolarized. Okay, so this is going to generate a particular what we call as an impulse which is going to make it get depolarized, children. So SA node is going to get self what we call is depolarized, and depolarization is going to lead to the excitation, and it is going to lead to the contraction. It is going to lead to the contraction. So we see that there is an other such electrically active place here, which is being called as the what you call as AV node. We are going to call it's just in between the auricles and ventricles here near the interventricular septa. It's being called as atrioventricular node. Okay, this is being called as atrioventricular node. Atrioventricular node. So this is also electrically active. This also gets depolarized, but it does not. The rate at which it is going to get depolarized is not more when compared to that of SA node. So SA node rate of depolarization is very high, children. So let me write this for you now. Let me write this for you such that you will understand this mechanism, what I need to make you understand now. So what I'm trying to say is that our SA node is going to get depolarized, but the rate at which it is going to get depolarized, the rate at which it depolarizes, it is going to get depolarized is very, very high compared to other electrically active places of your heart like AV node. Okay, so what happens is there are specially some tracks which are being present, which are what you call is branching up, and what you call is moving towards the different locations here into the atria. Okay, but actually they all are going to converge at the AV node like this. They're going to get converged. These have branches which are moving farther into the atrial chambers here. These are the branches here, and the this is going to be the main internodal tracks which are converging into the AV node. Converging is nothing but they are uniting at this particular AV node. So this is particular the what we call as the internodal main branch. Okay, internodal branches. So these green structures arising from SA node are being called as internodal tracks. Internodal tracts. Internodal tracts are like you can see that they are going to be the ones they are the posterior, the middle, the anterior internodal tracts, three of them, and they are branching into fine branches which are spreading all over the atria. And once the impulse is created in the SA node and the SA node is going to get depolarized, the wave of that depolarization is going to be carried towards all the atrial myocardial cells through the internodal tracts, and all of them, the internodal tracts are converging at this particular AV node. Now what happens is they are going to carry this impulse into the AV node, but now after they are going to carry the wave into the AV node, there is going to be a pause. Okay, first what happens is, children, let me write this for you. So one thing is the impulse for depolarization. Impulse for depolarization is created in where, which place is that? It is going to be SA node. Okay, SA node. Now what happens is the internodal tracks, the wave of impulse, the wave of impulse, that is of the depolarization, is carried by is carried by the internodal tracks, is carried by the internodal tracks and and their branches to where, to the to atrial myocardial tissue, the whole atriomyocardial tissue. Now they get depolarized. Now what happens is all three internodal tracts, are diverging. So they diverge at, they are going to diverge at which place? They're going to diverge at a place which is being called as atrioventricular node. Okay, and now what happens is here there will be a pause. There will be a pause for at least, there will be a pause for at least 40 milliseconds. 40 milliseconds. So after your AV node is receiving this particular impulse, there is a complete pause of 40 milliseconds. And now what happens, we'll see children what is going to happen. This particular AV node, you can see that all the atrial there is internodal tracts are actually having these branches which are carrying this to the different atrio myocardial tissue. But you can see that they're converging and they're passing into the AV node. But your valves, if you're going to look, let me take a lighter color. So if you're going to look at this particular valves as well as AV node, they are in the same zone which is being present, the same zone they are being present, children. But what happens is your valves are not electrically active. They are not electrically active. They cannot get depolarized. Okay, this is important, children. Let me write it this for you. So here you can see that your most important point is though the AV node and valves are present in the same zone, same zone. Valves do not carry, or valves do not get depolarized. They do not get depolarized. Why? Because your valves are made of made of fibrous tissue. Made of fibrous tissue. And this fibrous tissue is going to be, it's going to be insulator. It does not allow the passing of the impulse, as therefore they do not get depolarized. I hope children now you understood what I needed to say. So the current or the impulse is of depolarization is just carried where, is just only carried into your AV node, but they are not being spread into this particular valve area. Now here, just below this particular AV node, we have a specialized tissue in this particular interventricular septum. This is in the interventricular septum, and this particular specialized tissue here is being called as bundle of his. This is being called as a atrioventricular bundle, or we can call this as bundle of his. In the present day medical books, we call this as a atrioventricular atrioventricular bundle. We are going to call this as atrioventricular bundle, we are going to call, but many of the CBSE, NCERT and the state syllabus textbooks mention this as bundle of his. So now the wave of depolarization passes from the AV node to this. So what has happened is SA node created the impulse of depolarization, and it passed this depolarization wave into the atrial myocardial tissue and into the AV node. Here it has got passed. Meanwhile, the atria are going to contract because of the depolarization, children. They are getting contracted. And later, after the 40 milliseconds, now the depolarization is passing into the interventricular septum through bundle of his. Now what you can see is your bundle of his is being divided into the right branch as well as a left branch which is being present, and these particular branches are moving farther into this particular sorry, they're moving into the myocardial tissue of the ventricles. So this is important for you to understand, children, from where are they moving. So I told you that from the bundle of his, you can see that there are right and left branches of the bundle of his which are moving into from the interventricular septa into the ventricular myocardium. They're moving into, okay, so the depolarization wave is carried by them. Now what happens is these particular what we call as the bundle of his is going to give rise to some fine branches here. So the bundle of his is giving rise to fine branches into this particular ventricular myocardial tissue, the ventricular myocardial tissue. And these fine branches, children, are being called as, these are being called as Purkinje fibers. We are going to call these are being called as Purkinje fibers. So now you can see that first AC node created it. It passed into the atrial myocardial tissue, thereby giving a depolarization everywhere. They got contracted. It passed into AV node. There was a pause. Later, the depolarization wave has passed into the bundle of his. From there, into the branches in the interventricular septa. Then the depolarization wave has passed into the ventricular myocardial tissue, thereby enabling all the ventricles to get contracted. So this is a way you can see that the electrical activity or the impulse generated by SA node getting passed down to many other electrical active areas here and causing the ventricles and the auricles, that is atria, to get contracted. So let me write the next step for you, children. So as we have seen that now the valves do not pass, but it is passed into AV node. So from AV node, the depolarization wave, depolarization impulse is being now carried where it's been carried into the bundle of his in the interventricular septa. From there, it's moved into the right and left tracts of bundle of his, and from there they are being passed into the fine branches which are being called as Purkinje fibers, which are being present where they are being present in the ventricular myocardial tissue. Thereby this depolarization of your Purkinje fibers will ultimately lead to the ventricular systole, ventricular systole or contraction. And children, once it has passed into the atriomyocardial tissue, this will be leading to the what we call is a atrial systole or atrial contraction is going to happen here. So these are the things that you need to remember, how and who is going to actually be responsible for the contraction of both the auricles as well as the ventricles. Where is a position? This is going to be just below the opening of the superior vena cava, entering into the right atria that we have seen. So this is your SA node, your internodal tracts, your AV node, your bundle of his, and the Purkinje fibers, and the generation of depolarization made your auricles to contract. Then the generation of depolarization made your ventricles to contract. So this is going to be the electrical activity that we are going to see here. But children, there is another thing that I need to even specify about, as I told you, that there is no other or any nervous or hormones which are triggering or starting up the impulse here, children. But I told you that it's going to be self generation, isn't it? They are getting self depolarized automatically. Who? The SA node is going to, highly it is going to get depolarized automatically. And especially the depolarization which is very spontaneous. So let me write The SA node depolarization is very spontaneous depolarization, at least 90 to 100 beats or times per minute we are going to see. This is the depolarization rate of your SA node. That is the reason in the heart transplantation, you can see that once a heart is being removed from the donor and it's being placed into the recipient, we see that it goes with a 90 to 100. But there is another important thing that I need to even specify for you all to remember, that there is a nerve which is being called as a vagus nerve, which is a part of a parasympathetic nervous system, part of a parasympathetic nervous system, children. This vagus nerve is a 10th cranial nerve. It's our 10th cranial nerve. And this vagus is going to, vagus branches, the branches of the vagus are going to innervate into this particular AV node. This is very important, children, to be remembered. So the vagus 10th cranial nerve, its branches are going to innervate our AV node. It's going to innervate our AV node. So now what happens is, due to the activity of this particular parasympathetic nerve, that is vagus nerve, which is getting the branch of this vagus nerve, as it is going to get innervated into the AV node, what it does is it influences. So let me write this for you all. Make a star mark that the parasympathetic nerve, that is going to be your vagus, the vagus nerve is going to, what we call as, it is going to influence the heart rate. Okay, it is going to influence your heart rate. And as we all know, that parasympathetic nervous system is going to slow down the heart rate. It is going to slow down the heart rate. This is important, children. And the sympathetic nervous system is going to influence even your heart rate. It is also going to influence the heart rate, and your heart rate is going to be actually increased under the activity of your sympathetic nervous system. So this is important because I needed to specify that they self-generate the impulse, but they do get influenced by the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. And the other two terminologies, children, example, are important for our examination point of view is speaking about what is a tachycardia, which is going to deal with the increased heartbeat rate. Okay, increased heartbeat rate. And we have the next, which is being called as a bradycardia, which is going to deal with the decrease in the heart rate, decrease in the heart rate. So children, these are the topics for today about the electrical activity of the human heart. So we know that it's not by the nervous system, or it's not by your what we call as your hormonal influence, but it is the self-specialized cardiac tissue at the SA node, which is going to create its own impulse to get depolarized, passing that wave to all the other electrically active areas of your heart. So children, now what I'll do is I'll show you the picture of this particular thing in one of the slides, such that it will make more easy for you to understand. So this is that what I needed to say, the sinoatrial node called as SA node at the entry of the superior vena cava, the atrioventricular node, the bundle of his we have, and the branches of it with the Purkinje fibers. And these are your tricuspid bicuspid valves, which do not conduct any electrical activity. So once the auricles are going to get depolarized, they get contracted, and later if the ventricles are getting the depolarization, they are going to contract. Okay, I hope children you all have understood this topic. Let me know how you all have felt and how much have you understood this. If you like the video, please do hit the like button, do subscribe my channel, and try to share it with many all. Thank you all. Thank you.